Hey guys, it's Lauren from the Express Lane, and today I am so excited to welcome a brand new guest to our channel. This is Michelle. She is with our River Falls office, and similar to Crystal in our St. Croix Falls office, Michelle actually started out as a recruiting specialist and is now an employment specialist. Thanks for coming on the channel today.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here and kind of fill you in on some fun stuff that's going on.
So I would love it if you just kind of broke down for the viewers what some of the biggest differences are between being a recruiting specialist, where obviously you're doing interviews all day, every day, to now what are some of those differences with being an employment specialist?
Sure. So one thing that stands out to me now is I get to have kind of the best of both worlds. I get to chat with our associates, really get to know them, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, but then making it a full circle. So I will coach our associates during the interview, what to expect when they're interviewing with potential clients, but then following up with the clients and letting them know this is what the associate's looking for. And then after the interview, following up, seeing how things went and how our associate could improve. So I just love it. It's more of a full circle. And then you get to see the satisfaction of finding someone a good job and a good fit.
So speaking of interview questions, today our topic for the video is talking about all of those interview questions that you think are easy, but actually aren't. So
Yeah.
we've got the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to count them down. Let's get into it.
Okay.
So kicking off our countdown with number 5 of those questions that sound easy but aren't when it comes to interviewing. Our first question is, what is your greatest weakness? Now, can you share a little bit with us about things to say, things not to say when it comes to this question, and why it's really sort of that trick question in disguise?
Yeah, for sure. So for the longest time, even I was guilty of this.
Okay.
I thought answering what's your greatest weakness should be something that's super positive.
Okay.
Like, I am going to stay late every day until my work's done. That's something that's a weakness of mine because of work-life balance or something like that.
Like the perfectionist one.
Perfectionist.
The big one.
Yes. So you just really want to be real and transparent with your employers, right? So a couple of things maybe not to say would be, I'm always late. I'm trying to focus on getting to work on time, getting to my desk on time. Or I haven't really found a job or a position that I love. So staying at a job longer than 6 months hasn't been a strength of mine. You want to be honest, but you also want to still have that little twist, and not kind of sell yourself short, right? So something you could say is, in the past, I've taken on a little bit more than has been in my typical job description. With that, you need to ensure that you have all the information regarding that to ensure that you can complete that task in a timely manner. So what you could say would be, I'm one, to eagerly take on new tasks that are outside of my job description. But I need to remember to always ask the important facts on how is this going to affect my schedule? How is this going to affect my time? And making sure that my other position responsibilities are being completed. So I think something I could get better at is just making sure I have that clear cut, what's expected if I add more to my plate so I don't become overwhelmed.
Okay, I like that.
Thanks.
For question number 4 in our countdown, we've got the question of, what did you not like about your last position or job? And I think this kind of probably goes hand in hand with, why are you leaving your previous employer, right?
Yeah, I think this is a really common question that's asked in a lot of interviews, because obviously there's a reason you're looking for a new position. Again, being transparent and honest is great with your future employer, but we just want to make sure that we're still representing ourselves in a positive light. So a couple things that you probably would want to pass on saying would be, for example, my boss would micromanage me and always making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to and meeting my deadlines. That just seems like maybe you wouldn't be taking direction very well or hard to manage. Obviously, a potential employer wants to make sure that they're bringing a good fit on the team and someone that they can talk to about maybe deadlines or things like that. Another one that I've actually been hearing a lot as of late is I was giving more on my workload as staff was being transitioned in or out, but my pay was not increased. I've been hearing that a lot. Our workforce is kind of at a funny limbo right now, where their short staff is a huge issue throughout a lot of industries. So yes, a lot of times you would be taking on new roles. Saying I'm taking on more but not getting a pay raise sometimes makes future employers think you're not a team player and that you're not going to step up and help if needed. So that could be kind of a deterrent to some employers. Something that you could say would be, I was given a chance to contribute to a lot of different departments, and that allowed me to learn a lot. But unfortunately, my manager wasn't there to give me a lot of feedback or direction, so I felt like it was a challenge for me sometimes. That's a great way to let your possible future employer know that you do appreciate constructive criticism. You do like feedback. Again, that's something that a lot of people are looking for when they join their team. And also, you answered that question respectfully, because, someone doesn't want to be interviewing you and think, oh, if this doesn't work, that you may go and badmouth us or have a bad experience that you share. So I just think it's really important, again, to be honest, but be respectful as well.
Yeah, I think it's just don't badmouth your employer, your previous employer. At the end of the day, like no matter how bad of a situation you're in, and even if this is the worst boss you've ever had, it's okay to think that, but don't actually say that in your interview. And I think along the lines of the micromanaging thing that you brought up too, as a manager, I think that if somebody comes and says, okay, well, I was being micromanaged by my previous manager and I didn't like it, it kind of sets off that flag in my head to think, did you need to be micromanaged? Like, were you doing something that caused your manager to need to micromanage you? So that's kind of a red flag, I feel like, for me too.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, it's just one of those things that you want to represent yourself and you want to represent the companies in the best light. And just having that open conversation, like you said, well, why were they micromanaging you? Or, so you could be actually setting yourself up. I've heard a lot during interviews, I don't want to bad talk them, or I'm not trying to be unprofessional. But if you have to start your phrase that way, you should maybe formulate what you're going to say or how you're going to say it. I think that's really important to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, Crystal, in an interview video that we did recently, her biggest takeaway, which I thought was so brilliant, was she was talking about not oversharing in your interview. And then that she said that was one of the worst things you could do in an interview, was oversharing. And I think too, as somebody who's done interviews, you start fixating on the things that somebody has done and the things that somebody has overshared versus the things that actually pertained to the question that you asked.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start oversharing about especially your previous work history, it cannot always go the way that you want it to go.
No, I 100% agree. And I think too, with that, like you said, you want to highlight what your goal is with that company and why you're there. And two, let's be honest, even our future employers are humans. They may check out of the conversation. They may not be completely listening at that time because you may have been the seventh person today. So keep it short, highlight what you need to, and just be respectful of your past experiences.
Next up on our list of interview questions that sound easy but aren't is number 3. And this question is, why do you want this particular job, or why do you want to work for this company? And I did not know that this was a trick interview question, so I'm super curious to see where this conversation is going to
go. This one was kind of am I going to put it on the list or I'm not? The reason why I put it on this list is because this has been a question that I have been gravitating towards. As of recently. And the reason why is I have been getting a lot of the same answers when I say, what drew you to this position? Why this position? And some of the answers that I've received that are a no, maybe don't say, it's super close to home. Or I always thought it'd be cool to be in this role, but I don't have any experience. So I thought, I'll give it a shot. Those are kind of not the best answers. When I'm interviewing somebody, I want them to have shown interest in this position because of what the company is about and represents, what we offer our employees, personal growth, opportunity, not that your commute's going to be shorter by 5 minutes. Because to me, that could be my company that I'm interviewing for right now or the one down the street.
Right.
So that to me is just kind of a red flag. So something you could say is that you were excited that there's a lot of opportunity for advancement. Not only are you kind of showcasing that you are looking to grow and stay with a company, which employee retention is huge, but also that you are willing to learn and build your skills. And then you could let them know that you felt like this would be a good fit for that, for you to continue in the streamline of the position you're currently in with the possibility of growth. Employers don't want you just to pick randomly, like I said, because of a closer commute or a high wage. That's another one. Oh, I really liked what the pay was. Those are really big turnoffs, if you will, for employers. You just want to have that genuine interest in a role. One thing I've been talking to my associates about is researching the company before you go. What is it about this company? What are some reviews from current or past employees? Did they want to grow? Were they given that opportunity to grow? Is there continued education? All those things are attractive and a selling point for an employer. So that would be, to me, a standout versus an easier commute.
I think too, there are so many things that you can just pull from the job description. I mean, it's right there in front of you. You're looking at it when you're applying. And I personally love that, sitting in an interview and having the person across the table repeat back some of the things that were on the job description, because that, as an employer, shows me that you actually read it and you paid attention and there were things that stood out from it.
Absolutely. And I don't know how many times a day I hear this if I call a prospect. Oh, can you tell me what job this is for? I've applied to so many. That to me is also not standing out as, why do you want this job? Because to me, that's saying you just went click, 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 and whoever calls me first, we'll give it a shot. I want to find a potential associate or an employee who wants to work at this company, who's excited to see that there's a posting and an opening, not just some random, we'll see what happens. So I think that's also another thing too, is write down where you're applying and maybe put little notes by why you applied there.
And what day you applied there, who was the hiring person that you contacted, because they're likely the ones that are calling you back. So again, you don't have to go researching far, just read the job description.
Absolutely.
So number 2 on our countdown, we are getting near the end here, but this question is all about explaining the gap in your work history. Now, in a previous video that we had done talking about our top 3 resume mistakes that you can make, one of those 3 mistakes was gap in work history. So how do you navigate this question? I mean, I get like things not to say, but what are good things to say of how you can kind of spin that time off if there was, a legit reason for why you had to take that time off?
Yeah, and this has been coming up more and more. As we all know, 2 years ago, a lot of us were in lockdown. A lot of us lost our jobs. A lot of us had to quit our jobs to stay safe or keep family safe. So you're going to be seeing a lot more gaps in employment. It's not necessarily the gaps, but the reason behind the gaps, I think, is more important. I'll speak for myself. Before I came on board here at Express, I was working very part-time, but I was a stay-at-home mom. To some employers, that would be concerning, not being in the workforce on a full-time basis. But it's how you respond to that, I think, is super important. Some things to maybe not say would be, oh, I just quit my job. I was getting really frustrated, so I just quit, but now I need a job to pay my bills. That's not good to say because a couple things. You're showing it was an impulsive decision. So as a potential employer, are you going to one day have a bad day or feel overwhelmed and just leave? Or, being responsible. We all want to be able to know that we have responsible teammates and coworkers that are going to fulfill their commitment. So just up and leaving doesn't look great on a resume. Another that I've heard is, I didn't want to work anymore. I wanted to go have fun. And I understand that.
Me too.
I understand that. I want to have fun too. But that shows also a little bit of an immature, employers don't want to have to babysit their employees again. So just having that more professional aspect. If you honestly really just needed a break from the workforce and you wanted to go explore, put a twist on it. And the way you could do that is, I really wanted to travel. I wanted to experience different places to kind of see what was out there. So I took a little time to do so. Now I'm ready to get back into the workforce and just fulfill myself on the next level. Again, it's why you were in a gap and why you're deciding to come back. I've also heard, taking care of an ill family member or things like that. Again, those things happen, but just ending it on a positive note and re-emphasizing why you want to come back to the workforce. Again, on a positive note, that I wanted to continue my career path. I wanted to learn different career skills. Just staying positive, I think, will navigate away from maybe the negative. If you did any volunteer work, however, in the gap, I think that's something great to talk about, because that shows, a giving and serving heart. And I think that's something that employers can find attractive in somebody. So if you did any volunteer work or maybe mission work or took some classes, continued your education, those are also, I think, a very positive reason on why to have a gap in history.
With working with clients now, obviously in your new employment specialist role, do you find that clients are a little bit more easygoing of gaps 2020 beyond, just with everything we're all going through? Has that kind of become a little less of a red flag than it used to be?
I think it has, to an extent. I still get, if there's a gap, why was there a gap? I try to, explain to them that there is a gap and this is the reason why. I think, again, just being that transparent and truthful helps. They may ask, but I definitely feel like there is a little bit more forgiveness, because everyone's world's changed a lot since 2020, and companies are understanding that a little bit as well. 5 years ago, if you saw somebody with a 2-year gap, most likely their resume or application went to the bottom of the pile, and you were going to go for somebody who's still currently working and holding a full-time position. So again, transparent, be honest, and show them that you're ready to get back into the workforce with a vengeance and really work hard for them.
We are down to number 1, our final interview question that sounds easy, but really isn't. And that is going to be, where do you see yourself in 3 years? Now, this is another question that I guess I didn't really know it was a trick question. So again, I'm excited to hear the answer on this.
Yeah, I think this question really stands out to me because there are so many different ways to answer it. And those answers can really cause either a great ending to an interview or possibly put your foot in your mouth before the interview ends. So a couple things I think are important not to say. So for example, if you're interviewing for a customer service office support role, admin position, and they ask you this, don't say in 3 years, I hope to be in X, example, marketing. Because that has not a whole lot to do with what you're interviewing for. As an employer, that's telling me I have 1.5 to 2 good years of you, and then you're gonna wanna find something in marketing. So to me, as an employer, that would say, do I wanna commit to training? Do I wanna commit to time, money, energy on this person if they're just gonna wanna leave for something completely different that we can't offer them here? Another one, I know some people say this with a sense of humor, but saying, I don't know, I barely know what I'm gonna do next week. I get it. I say that all the time. Like, what did I have for breakfast today? I'm busy. But to a potential employer, that makes them feel that you're not committed, that you have a fear of commitment, that you don't have any loyalty, that you don't know what you're going to do if you want to find something. And I like to say the shiny object, and ooh, that's shiny, I'm going to go look it over here. That could be a turnoff for a potential employer. One thing that you could say is, I hope in my next 3 years I can continue to grow with this company. I noticed that you had an HR position here, and that's something that really interests me. I'd love to pick some knowledge from different departments and see if that's something that I could explore and grow with. You talked about staying with that company for a longevity and also finding something else that they do inside that company, again, to not lose a potential employee. Time, money, and effort to retain, find, all these things to keep an employee costs a lot of money, time, energy. So they want to make sure that they're taking on somebody who wants to be there for the long run. Obviously, life changes happen. Maybe you do have a change in career goal. But during that initial interview, you really want to make sure that it is something that pertains to that current company. Because if you say, again, something that doesn't match up with that company, but the person in front of you said, I want to be in human resources, you may have had a better interview, but they still are going to probably take somebody who's going to stick with them and be there for the long haul.
And I think there's something to be said too about, like, even if the position that you're applying for is your final end goal, even if like there is another role that you want to move into the company, you want to excel in this role, talking about like the skills that you're excited to learn in this role and ways that you're excited to grow in this role, and just exploring everything that you can bring to that particular role. I mean, I think there's growth opportunity in that as well.
Absolutely. And like you said too, if the role you're applying for, that is what you want to do, that's great. Then you could say, in the next 3 years with this company, I would love to find new ways to bring new clients in, to assist with the sales or with the margin going up or whatever. You can still have a goal if you just want to stay where you are, if you're offered that position. And I think that's great too.
Yeah. Or maybe you become like the trainer, like for that role of anybody else that comes in that role as well, and you take the lead on that. So I think there's a lot of areas to grow and to show your employer that you're open for growth. I feel like that's kind of a common trend here.
Absolutely. Being open-minded, willing to try new things, I think is huge. And you have to start somewhere. So knowing that company, letting the company know that you want to start with them, get your foot in the door and potentially learn and keep learning, that's really attractive to employers.
Yeah. And we actually just talked about that in our video just this week. That will actually be posted tomorrow. Talking about having a meeting with your manager to discuss career pathing within the company, and what are some of those things that the employer can get you started with now to set you down the road for where you want to be in those 3 years. So, if you're starting in this role and you want to be in this role within the same company in 3 years, maybe there are things that your employer can set you up with to really guide you down that path and get you started right away.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When I started here as a recruiting specialist, I loved my position. I thought this is going to be my position and my baby forever, and I loved it. And the opportunity came open for an employment specialist, and I had been approached before, and I was like, no, I want to stay where I'm at. I love what I do. And this time around, I said, what am I waiting for? I know I want to grow with this company. I know this is kind of that next step to get me to the next step, to get me to the next step. Yeah. And having those open conversations with owners and managers definitely helps. It shows you the path that you need to take, lets them know that you are in it for the long haul with this company and that you do want to grow. So I think that open communication, what's my next step to get to B? What's my next step to get to C? Really shows them. And if you're willing to have that conversation, most likely they're willing to take the time to help get you there.
Well, that wraps it up for our top 5 interview questions that sound easy but aren't. We hope that you learned something new from this video. I know I definitely learned something new from this video, so thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Yeah, no problem. I loved being here with you and trying to help everyone navigate the interview process, because it's scary, and interviewing and finding work is a full-time job in itself. So those little tips and tricks could help. So I'm glad I could share and keep sharing with everybody.
So we would love it if you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up.
Thumbs up, subscribe, so Lauren can come back and keep it going.
And we will see you back here next Wednesday, where we bring you even more tips to help you get your career in the express lane.